Welcome to another episode of On Point Podcast, where sharing is unlimited. I'm your host, Helen Baskerville-Dukes, and today our guest is Irving Washington III. Welcome, Irving. Thank you.
I appreciate you having me.
Yes. All right, let's dig in. Okay, you ready?
Yes.
Oh, before we dig in, just thank you. So our videographer is Archie Johnson. He's just been holding it down since day one. Just jumped in. Thank you, Archie. Okay, so tell my followers a little bit about yourself, family, community, school, whatever you'd like to share.
All right, so my name is Irving Washington again. I'm the third. Born and raised here in Providence, Rhode Island. 143 Rugby Street, if you want to get down to it. So, I mean, we're going back to the project days and stuff like that. So South Side, but born and raised.
East Side. No, I'm doing that.
But I know we've known each other forever, But went through the Providence school system, graduated EP. I did go to Hope in Central for a minute, but I wasn't always the good kid. So I was put out of one of them, two of them. But no. So just started doing music at an early age, and continued on with it after high school, and went on to do some pretty nice things. Well, I wasn't a shy kid, but I mean, I did a lot of the local talent shows around here. I did some stuff. I did a lot of stuff out Boston way, But there was OIC used to have a talent show. Mm-hmm. Central had a talent show back in the day, where I met Ricky and Roger. I didn't really hang out too much, so a lot of folks probably didn't know that I was into music the way that I was.
No, I was at the talent shows because I was the rapper, but I don't recall seeing you. It was all the rappers, maybe what do they call New Dimension. From the East Side, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it was around the same time too. That I was doing some things. John Hope used to do.
I went to a couple
shows and stuff like that. And the thing with the John Hope was, they were doing fashion shows, but I would sing Mark Taylor at the time. So he and I were the talent for that one. Michelle Hill, myself, Chops Turner. There was a few of us that would do the OIC. Talent show. So I mean, I did, some things around here, but I was kind of my lane because I wanted to write and produce, and there wasn't really that element, at my age anyway.
Right.
So I mean, I was kind of digging, a little deeper to kind of do those things. But so I stayed in a lot, in the basement at the house, and I was writing and doing, what I was calling at the time producing, trying to get some things going. So that's probably it.
Right. I know. I'm like, where were you? Because everyone knew Chops. Now I didn't know Michelle Hill.
Right.
But just Chops, just because he walked down the streets and he was singing everywhere. Right.
On Pleasant Street, I believe.
Yes, and I was on Grandview, which is a few blocks away.
And the thing with Chops is, again, Chops is, he's a lot older than I am. Mm-hmm. So even, coming into the industry, I would always hear about Chops. I knew who he was. I never met him.
Right.
I believe Chops might have even been like a senior in high school when we actually met.
Oh, okay.
So he was, like I said, a lot older. The Fonseca twins, they were a lot older than me, so I didn't know a lot of them. I was a lot younger than them, And Michelle, I introduced her to some folks, and she started singing. And I don't know if you remember the group Just Us.
No.
Back in the day, but that was the Osborne Gray Clip.
Right.
So she started doing some singing with them. The OIC talent show. So a lot of that stuff like that. So because Michelle and I, we lived a street over from each other.
Okay.
We had a group called Pinky and the Fantastics. Because her nickname was Pinky.
Okay, and you guys were fantastic.
Singers and stuff, you know what I mean? So it was Pinky and the Fantastics and stuff. So once we started doing some things, and then just the introduction of different folks around, and then she started doing, some things, but she was a little older than me, so she was able to do like the nightclub scene with bands and stuff like that. I wasn't able to. A lot of the club owners knew who I was, so they would allow me in, but I couldn't get up on the stage and actually do stuff because of my age and stuff. But they would let me in and be like, okay, keep moving that corner. He can see what's happening.
You sure you didn't get on the stage not one time? They're old. Okay. I was like,
I might have done a song or something like that, but no, it wasn't like. She was actually going out with the group, and then they were traveling, they were doing different things like that. So unless it was like the, Sonny and Dennis's
right,
block party,
that's what I'm talking about. Because I was down there.
Block party, I couldn't really get down like that.
Right. Yeah, I'm not trying to, make Sonny and Dennis all big. That was back in the day, but that was the day,
Yeah.
So who inspired you?
Ooh, let me see. obviously like the Luther Vandrosses, JT from Kool and the Gang. I was a big fan of
Okay.
his. Freddie Jackson, Lilo
Oh,
Thomas.
love Freddie Jackson. No.
Lilo Thomas, he was in that same clique. Kashif, I was like Heat Wave, obviously, different groups like that. But I was one of because I was a singer, I loved harmonies, like the arrangements and different things like that. So I would listen to a lot of those groups and try to figure out and dissect what they were doing to try to make it my own.
Right.
So.
Oh no, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So here, let's talk about the industry and let's talk about Portrait. So, how did Portrait come about? The name, the group, the members, like.
Right. Okay, so if I could back up a little bit, so like I said, I did a lot of talent shows and different things out in Boston. So I met Maurice Starr in Boston. In fact, before Portrait, there was Irving and the Twins, which was Ricky and Roger
Yes.
Fonseca. And again, I didn't know them. So Ricky and Roger won a talent show that Maurice did out in Boston at the Lee School. So when I was doing a fashion show out in Boston, Maurice was actually in a meeting in the club. It was Roscoe's back in the day, Dudley Station.
Yes.
So he was sitting in the back, and I was up on stage. They were doing like a full run through of the fashion show, and he heard me singing, and he's like, "Who's this kid up there?" Whatever, So they end up introducing me and everything like that. So I met Maurice. Maurice ended up meeting my parents, and Maurice was like, "Look, I'm working with these twins out of Providence." He said, "I don't know if you know them. We didn't know them, but he ended up putting us together, and that was
Right.
Irving and the Twins. That was the birth of Irving.
I
and the
remember
Twins.
that. Mm-hmm.
So in '83. Irving and the Twins were signed to Arista Records under Maurice Starr's production deal. And that's where we came out with One More Chance. So we started working on a lot of different things. Maurice, over the next year or two of that era, whatever
Right.
that time, he ended up losing the production deal over there at Arista Records. So Irving and the Twins, we never got to complete the full album.
Okay.
So, but Maurice did take me under his wing, and he showed me how to structure songs and this and that. And so we started working on a lot of different materials and stuff like that. I ended up meeting a couple of musicians out that way. They were Irving and Twins band, but we didn't have the band. So I met, guys. So I ended up working on the project with the bass player, which was a Suave project. Suave did a remake of Temptations of My Girl, which was real big. He had a couple of hits and stuff like that. He was signed to Capitol Records. So I worked on that first album with the bass player there. That album did pretty good. It got Suave to do a second project. So Suave came into Boston and he's like, "Look, Irv, I'm getting ready to work on my second project. Why don't you come out to LA?" I was only supposed to go out to do like some background vocals on the project because I had worked on the first one. So I was familiar with the sound and everything like that. So when I ended up going out to California, Mike Angelo and Eric Kirkland were signed to Suave's production company.
Okay.
That's how I met the guys from Portrait. So they were actually working on his second project. So again, I was only supposed to go out to do some backgrounds, but long story short, before it was all over, I ended up writing, producing backgrounds, the whole nine or whatever with the guys. So, a lot of folks that followed my career and what I was doing, the different things, I mean, they know, because if you listen to the Suave album that the guys and I wrote and produced, it was actually me singing on the whole project too.
I see, now I'm going to check it out.
That's that whole Milli Vanilli situation. So when the story that Suave was telling Mike and Eric was, we'll have Irving sing all the demos, and once we turn it in, and once the record company picks the ones that are actually going to go on the album, then I'll come in and I'll do my vocals. So we're in there, we're recording and everything like that. And these guys, the more and more we're recording, and the more songs we're liking, and the more songs that Capitol's picking, and they're like, "Well, when's he going to come in and do his vocals?" And then I think they started kind of putting two and two together. So in all actuality, the Suave, the To The Max album on Suave is literally Portrait's first album.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? So when that whole Milli Vanilli thing jumped off and they got caught, and then record companies stopped a lot of that from going on, because I mean, it was
the lip singing.
So that's how I met the guys in Portrait. So we were together as a production team and never had any intention of becoming a group. So Capitol, they kept asking us, you guys should really consider signing with us and coming out with your own stuff and whatever. We turned it down for a while, and then they really started showing us numbers, and then we're like, okay, we might want to.
This might work.
Consider this, you know what I mean?
Right.
So that kind of is where Portrait kind of started. Again, when we were working on the Suave album, we were working with Andre and Brian Wilson from the Wilson brothers. They're from the Gap
Yep.
Band, like Charlie
Yep.
Wilson and you know the Wilson Gap bands. They were called Baby Gap at the time. So they were writing with us on the Suave project. Also, they pulled in their buddy from Tulsa, Oklahoma, which was Philip Johnson.
Okay, yep. That's on your.
Yep, Philip came in. So that was again, you know, the birth of Portrait. So when we decided to do an album, you know, then we came up with the name, you know, collectively Portrait, and then that was the birth of Here We Go Again and all of that.
How did you make it in the industry though, as Portrait, Suave, when it was saturated with male groups?
You know what? Just writing good material. You know what I mean? We wrote some really great music, and you know, lyrical content was right. You know, the guys and I, we were vocalists, so I mean, we can stand up to anybody that was out there. You know, I mean, harmonies and all that stuff like that. I mean, that was second nature to us. You know, so you know, we were writing good stuff. You know, our publishing was over with Quincy. So when we were doing like we were working on, you know, a few other projects with different artists and stuff. So publishing was there. So a lot of it was just writing songs, submitting them, you know, staying, you know, up with you know,
Relevance
and everything like that. And once they were getting them out, because I mean, we had songs on multiple movie soundtracks. You know,
Yeah, I saw that. Jason's lyric.
Jason's lyric, Zebrahead, Media Man, Adam's Family Values. I mean, I can go on and on and on, but I mean, we did quite a bit even outside, because again, we never really had any intention on being a group. So I mean, we were putting out stuff, just getting it out there.
Right,
you know? And then, like I said, we created that buzz, and then, you know, once we started recording for ourselves and everything like that, like you said, there were, you know, serious groups at the time.
Yeah.
Silk, Shy, Rude Boys, Boys the Man, you know, all of them. But, you know, that's what it was, you know, and every record label wanted their own R&B group. You know, so again, you know, being able to deliver, you know, that was the whole thing back then, you know, because I mean, anyone can come out with stuff nowadays. It's like, but if you were able to get in that room and deliver, you know, that's what got you in.
Right. Now I'm just fascinated. I love it, especially coming from my community, you know,
absolutely.
and just knowing like, hey,
Absolutely,
it was you. Okay, so what were some of the benefits of being Portrait? You know, locally and
well, I tell
you know,
so,
nationally.
Again, coming from here, from Providence, Rhode Island, you know, not thinking that you can accomplish those things, you know what I mean? So, you know, like I said, writing good material and everything like that, you know, just dreaming about even going to California. You know, it's like when I got there, I'm like, wow, you know, it's like I'm a teenager, you know, a young teenager, and I'm out here on my own and I'm doing this. And now it's like, okay, I have to do something to make my parents proud, to make our community proud, everything like that, you know? So being able to travel all over the world, you know what I mean? It's like I've gone to countries I didn't even know existed, you know,
wonderful.
off of writing music and singing and being able to, you know, just deliver as an entertainer. So, you know, that's definitely one of the perks that, you know, that were a part of that whole situation, you know, being on the stage with other musicians and other artists that, you know, that I grew up listening to, having the respect of those artists that I grew up listening to, folks that I idolize, and, you know, being able to sit in the same room with them and work with them on projects and, you know, a lot of that. And I'm like, wow, you know, a young kid growing up on the South Side, being able to travel the world, being nominated for Grammys, having gold and platinum album credits to my name, and all this and I'm the one sitting in the room writing this stuff.
Amazing.
And, you know, individually and collectively, you know what I mean? It's like, but to be able to say that, you know, I mean, you know, we made history. It's like, okay, you know, you Google my name, it's like a ton of stuff comes up. Stuff that I don't even remember doing because it's a job, you know, so it's not like I'm like, okay, you know, whatever. I'm like literally, this is my job. I'm in there and I'm writing and stuff, and it's like, and this stuff is like out there for you to see, and just like, you know, it's amazing. You know?
Yeah, I know. I love it. And our community should be proud and still proud, you know. I look at a lot of entertainers who, you know, homegrown, and, you know, even if they're not as active, but still, you know, you come back, you know, the little smaller kids, they can say, hey, I can do it if he did it or she did it or they did it.
And I tell you, you know, I've always had the support from Rhode Island, you know, Providence. And, you know, what tripped me out, because we'd have meetings at Capitol Records, and, you know, trying to figure out our next move, planning meetings and, what the strategy is going to be and this and that. And when those numbers would come in, we would be able to tell, where albums were bought, and this and that. And I mean, Providence would trump some of the bigger, states. I mean, one time they were like, oh my God, Providence, Rhode Island, we moved more units in Providence this week than we did in Texas. So, this one, that one, and it used to really amaze me because I'm like, wow, they are really supporting
and they're listening,
They're listening, and I've always told everybody, Providence, Rhode Island, Providence, Rhode Island. I mean, I never shied away from that because, I mean, again, I'm born and raised here and always had the support here. And even when I come in now, I would come in, Portugal was on top of the world, but I'd come in and I'd stop in the Watergate. I'd stop in Washington Tap. I'd stop in the Essence Rare, wherever it was.
Right.
And somebody's like, oh, would you sing a karaoke song with me? And it's now like, absolutely, go put it in. And it's because I'm like, you know what? I'm home now. I'm kicking it. But some folks, you'll go to, some of their hometown, because I've visited different states with other artists that, were out when we were, and they want to sit in their little corner. They don't get involved. You know what I mean? And I'm like, you have to do that. And that's why,
because those are your supporters. And besides, it's like family too when you're in that community you grew up in. So
and I would do it all the time. They're like, okay, but I would know, I wouldn't sing like I'm on the stage and I'm at the Grammy Awards or anything like that. I'm like, okay, you know what? They're singing. They asked me to sing with them. I'm just kind of, up there with them and
complimenting them a little bit, right?
But having fun, because that's what it's about. Karaoke is fun. You're up there just trying to upstage this one, and I'm like, no. So we kick it and we have fun, and people appreciate that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Okay, so well, tell me, what was the industry like?
A bit different.
Because what, even our listeners and especially if we have a lot of young ones that they want to make it, and I understand. I was there too. You want to make it, and but just a little just a little window to the industry.
I mean, the industry. I mean, just like probably any other business. I mean, some of it could be cliquey. I mean, you definitely have to work. I mean, it's a business. You got to go in there. You have to. Really
work.
People believe you got to work. You know what I mean? Nothing's going to be handed to you, and if it's going to be handed to you, you're probably not going to reap the benefits like whoever's handing it to you, kind of thing. But you're exposed to a lot, and you have to be strong. You got to have thick skin in this industry because there's so much going on, which I'm sure a lot of folks are seeing now.
Yeah,
a lot of stuff is starting to come to light now with certain folks that are out there that that a lot of these people are growing up listening to, and that have made some serious noise in the industry. A lot of stuff is coming out, and you really have to have a thick skin in it, because if you don't, I mean, folks will walk all over you. And I mean, that's where publishing, your writing, I mean, there's still ghostwriting going on,
right? But
as far as the paperwork is concerned, have that stuff together.
Right.
When the money comes in, make sure that your name's on that check. I tell people all the time, I mean, I've ghostwritten for people in some serious hits. I mean, on the album, covers, may have their name on it or whatever, but you know what?
You wrote it, right?
Like, hey, that's a typo. You know what I mean? But when the check comes in, that's right.
Right, exactly. So, you have the third at the end, right?
Exactly. So knowing how to navigate around, those things, what I mean? And that's really important. So just, I'd say, have a strong team, somebody who, has your best interest.
Right.
Audition those folks. Just like, if you're walking into, a sound stage and you're auditioning for a job, when them people are going to be working for you or they're going to be part of your team, audition them. You want to ask them the questions. You want to know that they're going to be, best suited for you.
Right, an asset. Right.
And that's the other thing, you have to know what your vision is. And those folks that are on your team, they're going after your vision. You can't just have somebody telling you, this is what you're going to do, this is what you're going to do, because now it's not you, and you're trying to create their vision.
Right.
A lot of people can't pull that off,
Right.
When I'm writing for folks, it's like record company will tell me, okay, we want you to write for XYZ. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll put in, the contract or whatever. Okay, let me go out and, hang out with them for a week or so.
Yeah, something like,
talk with them, this and that. And then I'll tailor write a song for them. I want to know about them, like what their relationship is and what they're going through. Because now when I'm writing a song, I'm writing something that they can deliver.
And connect with.
Going in the catalog and like, okay, I'm going to put this song in this one. You know what I mean? It's like I might switch up some stuff or whatever, but you want the song to fit that person. You know what I mean? And so that way, they can deliver it. They're not going to sing a song that I wrote for this one because they're not going to deliver it. And the song, always has to be believable. So if I'm going and I'm sitting with somebody and I'm talking about what they're going through, what their situation is or whatever, and I'm writing a song, they might be going through something. I might write what I think somewhat of a solution is to their situation. It might not be their solution, but it's getting them close and it's giving them something else to think about. Like, wow, and then it's like, we've all done it as kids. We hear that one perfect song where like, oh, we want to go and give it to our boyfriend, our girlfriend. Be like, hey, hold cards. They say,
this is us, right?
This is what I wanted to say, but I couldn't say it. So, you got to kind of, do stuff like that. So,
No, I like that. And that's gold. You just gave up some gold. So that's great. So, all right. So what kind of legacy do you strive? Wait, I don't even want to get to this because I think I want to talk about a little bit about you a little more. So in 1993, you were featured, or portrait was featured in Family Matters. What was that like? Everybody loves to write.
And that was probably one of the first TV shows, that we recorded. So it was a little different, kind of, learning that. So that episode of Family Matters, it was this stormy weather episode, and we performed at Urkel and I say Kelly, but what's her name on the show? Laura.
Yes.
I said Kelly.
I was trying to think.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
In Urkel, we performed at their junior prom, and in the whole Family Matters, situation, Urkel always came up with these different contraptions and all this stuff. So he was treating it, whatever. He was the mad scientist.
Right.
So in this particular episode, he wanted to surprise Laura with this
balloon drop,
presentation. Was it? Yeah, this balloon drop or whatever. And so he's got his little remote control. He does, and then by the end of it, it ends up triggering the fire alarm and the water breaks, and we just everybody got soaked. And,
right. The sprinkler system, it was pouring. Yes.
So that particular episode, when you're asking how that was, we had no idea we were going to get soaked the way we got soaked. But you got to think, we had to do probably like 7 or 8 takes of that one scene because they had to get all the different camera angles and everything. And I mean, clothes were.
So they had to even though you were soaking wet, you had to get dry and then do it all. So that was the end. And
what they did was when he did his little contraption, they might have had the different camera angles on that particular scene. So they, because whatever angle they were going to show that from. But when the water came down, that scene, they let the water drop for probably 30 seconds.
Yes.
They're getting all the different camera angles, and we have to do all these different, whatevers. And then they're like, okay, cut. Okay, everybody ready? And then, they didn't do the contraption part again, but it's just the water scene. They just, let that come down probably 5 or 6 different times and for 30 seconds each. And we were just
soaking wet,
walking squeaks,
all right.
Different things. But it's I could only imagine all the different episodes that they had to do, with the Family Matters series because of all the different crazy things that they did. I mean, that was only our scene, you know what I mean? But I was just wow. But, singing at the prom again, I think we did about 3 songs at the prom. But, again, having to record those scenes over and over from different angles and, but it's work, like you said, it's you're not just going on there and it's there's one takers and, and the actors that are on the series, do all the work. I mean, you're in there and you're working. So, I mean, it's a bit different, you know what I mean, to go in there and do those things. We did another movie, A Grace in My Heart, which was probably around that same time. And again, having to film those scenes and we were doing some acapella, we were in the studio and on the mics, but it's a lot different from actually going in there recording an album.
Right.
You were thinking, okay, we're gonna just go in there. They got us doing a studio scene. We can go in there and sing it, but no, it's the film industry is completely different from from making a video. You know what I mean? It's having to do scene after scene after scene and different things. If your lips not moving with this, and it's work. Yeah. So like you said, in the music industry, it's not just walking the door, knock it out, and be done with it. It's some work.
No, and I used to produce plays and stuff like that. So it's do it again. Nope.
And it could be the simplest thing, but it makes the biggest difference.
Yeah.
When you get to the editing, part of it, because that's a job in itself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're out there and we're doing whatever, but when you get in that room and you're editing and post-production and all that stuff like that,
I know. I know. When I did my first movie, we had to call all the cast members back in for a scene.
Yep.
And we had to make sure the hair was the same, the nail polish was the same. We couldn't find a belt to one of the girls' shirts, and it was like, oh Lord,
it's work.
Yeah, exactly. It's work. The nail polish didn't match though, but no one really knows what. But I knew it did.
Work,
Right. All right. So so in 1997, you guys were nominated for a Grammy, Best R&B Performance by a Duo or a Group with Vocal.
And actually, no, that was something else. So we were actually nominated for 2 songs in that same category.
Okay.
And that was work that we did on the Quincy Jones Juke Joint album. Mm-hmm. So we did Slow Jams, which was Portrait, SWV, Tamia.
Was it Barry White?
Barry White and Babyface. Mm-hmm. So we were on that song. And then we also did Stomp. Mm-hmm. That was on the same one, which was the Brothers Johnson remake. And Rod Temperton, who was the lead singer of Heatwave, he was the composer and writer behind all the Heatwave stuff. Okay. Most of the Brothers Johnson, a lot of the Brothers Johnsons. Anything Quincy Jones, production-wise, like Rod Temperton. So like when you think about, he's the one that wrote Billie Jean, Beat It, Thriller.
Oh, wow.
He did all of that stuff for Michael Jackson. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you look up Rod Temperton, he was a genius.
Wow, yeah.
And so that was a production that we did with Rod on the Quincy Jones Juke Joint album. We were nominated for 2 songs in that category.
Nice.
So that was something.
Yeah, just another level of proudness. I'm like, yes, because we see this on TV. The award shows come on. Yeah. Just being nominated. Not everyone wins, but you're still a winner. Like, you were nominated.
Something else, because I mean, with all the music that's out there, to be considered, to even be in the category.
No, like I said, it was saturated and music was great.
Oh yeah.
Like we took like our parents' R&B and just maximized it, hands down, like
absolutely
hit after hit after hit, and just different styles. Unlike today, everybody sounds the same. The music is just
it's a little too trendy right now.
Yes,
and. See, back in the day when we were playing music, I mean, everybody wanted their own sound.
Yes.
We were trying to be like the trendsetters kind of thing, And even when I was coming up, before Portrait, before Irving and Twins and everything like that, like I said, I listened to like the Earth, Wind and Fires, the Kool and the Gangs, the Heat Wave, Confunction, this one, and they all had their own sound.
Yep.
They were more bands, so it was more like, musician, kind of driven, and not just a lot of computers and stuff. That's like the AI stuff that's coming now, but it's like,
sort of like when rap music came on the scene, they used more digital, beats and stuff versus orchestras and real instruments and things like that.
And I mean, it evolves. Eventually it comes back around. Bruno Mars was, bringing it back in, whole band and instrumentation type thing or whatever. But like I said, everyone had their own sound.
Yes.
It's like I turn on the radio now. I don't know who's who because all the females are sounding exactly the same. I mean, there are some that stand out,
right?
But a lot of it is just the same.
Oh no, I agree. Yes. But it was like back in our day, which these kids listen to our music now. If you see TikTok, like a lot of our music is like the sensation. You hear the little kids singing it. But like you said, everyone wanted to be themselves, and that's what made our music great.
They were a lot more creative, you know what I mean? They would dig deep, like I said, with the lyrical content. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, we were writing stories, we were coming up with different things, like
we were going through stuff.
We were going through it. So we're trying to really write something and write, folks, their solutions, their, remedy their problems or whatever. Nowadays it's kind of like, it's like, it's too predictable. I mean, I can hear a song right now. First time I ever heard it, it's like, as soon as the line starts, I know how it's going to end.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, and that's not how we did. Like we would come up with like, our own little writing camps and everything like that, and we get in there. And if the line was too predictable, we're like, no. Sometimes we'd write to the same track. We would write 3 different songs to the same track. And at the end of it, we're like, okay, which one is the hit? Then we have lyrics for 2 more songs that we have to either place with another track or whatever, or just.
Which was wonderful. Like,
right. So, we dug deep and we didn't settle. You know what I mean? So I think that's the difference with the music from kind of back in the day, and up until like what's now. Like I said, don't get me wrong, there's some great stuff out there.
Oh, for sure.
Now, but
especially the men are coming through with vocals, and I love it.
Oh yeah.
But I like you said, I think during our time though, we did what we had to do to make
Yeah,
it.
there you go.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And here now, making it is just being able to get in the door, and getting in the door is sometimes sounding
And
like
that's why I
somebody
think folks
else.
worked a lot hard. I won't say harder. That's not the right word. But, you know, we dug in a lot more because it took a lot to get through those doors.
Yes.
Right now, you know, with social media, which we didn't have, you know, folks are putting out their music on their own. They're doing this stuff. They're hiring teams to do all of your social media work for them and everything like that. And there are millionaires. I mean, these kids are like millionaires now based on stuff that they're putting out on their
Just on TikTok, not
So
even
they can
going
put
through
out
the
their
industry,
own thing.
right?
And like I said, they got a team out there working, that street team. They got, like, you know, these kids in the room that are working their social media for them, getting them the hits and, you know, and all of that. They're making some serious money, but they don't have to get in the doors like that. So record companies, a lot of the record companies nowadays, they're turning into catalog companies because they don't have those artists. They have their main artists, like they're super huge artists, they're A-list artists. But other than that, they're not really signing new artists because these artists are out there making it on their own, and these record companies aren't making the money that they used to. They're turning the catalog. Even in the studios now, like recording, you know, back in the day we were all analog, you know, and now it's like you said, it's all digital.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They wouldn't even know if I said to someone, you know, I record on 2-inch tape, you know, it's 24 tracks, you know, we're linking the machines together. They're like, what is all of that? I mean, they go on the computer now and they're like, you know, and it's just. And
the tracks are short.
Yeah.
Before you know, at least 7 minutes
it's
worth of, you know, we have 3 or 4 leads coming in, you know, and then of course you had the chorus with a bridge.
And I mean, I stack vocals. So it's like with background harmonies, I mean, I'm putting so many voices on it and it sounded so it's rich. It sounded silky. It's like, you know, and like I said, you know, folks now wouldn't even understand. Like if I said, okay, you know, and Arch has been in the studio with me plenty of times, so he sees how I record and, you know, and, you know, even early on, you know, when he was early and new to the studio, he'd be like, whoa, like, I never recorded like this, like, you know, and you know, so a lot of these guys around there are doing stuff now. I mean, I would take them under my wing and I would show them, and that's another thing. Like I said, I would come in, I'd record with these guys, and you know, and it was always like, yo, he was always down to earth.
Yeah, you're a mentor, and they need that.
Like, you know, he's a superstar now, and he can't, you know. No, you know, I'd go in with him, and you know, sometimes I still go in with, you know, a lot of the cats around, you know, and I show them stuff and show them how to stack their vocals, you know, show them, you know, what's flat, what's sharp, what's this, what's that, you know, pitch, you know, diction, articulation, this, you know, and you explain those terms to them. They're like, okay, now they can put the name to what they're. I'm at the point now where I feel like I owe it to my fans, like the fans that have been dedicated to me from day one. So that's why I'm doing the project. But it was always a job for me. So I always was one of the guys that was behind the scenes. So like when you say, I never knew Tyrone had a brother or whatever, because I always stayed behind, because I always wanted to write and produce and bring out the best in folks. I never really wanted to be the front man. So even when Capitol was considering signing Portrait, a lot of the hesitation was because they wanted me to be lead singer. And I'm like, you know, so I kind of wanted to stay behind. And then it's just like, okay, when we started coming out with the music and everything like that, just so happened like all the songs that I'm on leads on, you know, they were like,
it was you.
And stuff like that, you know, with the exception like Here We Go Again. I mean, I did like ad-libs on that and whatever, but you know, the Day by Day, How Deep Is Your Love, all that, you know, but I never really, but they were like, okay, you know, he's the singer, he's the, you know, the smooth vocalist, he's this, that, and that.
So, and before we leave, I just got a couple more things because I think your music should be highlighted. Like, was it Here We Go Again reached number 3?
The numbers.
Yeah, it reached number 3 on the R&B chart.
It was up there.
And then you had Honey Dip, which reached number 18.
Yep.
And then I Can Call You, 22.
Yes.
I think that's amazing. Like,
Capitol was working. I mean, one thing I will say, Capitol Records, the team that they had over there doing their promotion, the street team, and like I said, with us doing a lot of the touring that we did and everything, that street team over there, they were working.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes we were going in like 2 and 3 different cities, you know, a night knocking out stuff, but you know, they kept us working. Then you had, again, like the ballads, you know, you had the Day by Day, you had How Deep Is Your Love, which was the remake of the Bee Gees.
Okay.
You know, we did that one, and that was huge for us, which actually got us to do a whole nother album project in itself. So overseas, we had an album called Picturesque. It was never released here in the States, but it was all remakes with the exception of 2 original songs that we wrote. But because, you know, karaoke is huge overseas.
I didn't know.
In Korea, it's huge over there. So we did a whole album off of the success of How Deep Is Your Love.
Wow.
And and we did some serious remakes on that, some really good stuff, you know, and it was good. So we had that. Again, we had songs that weren't even released as B-sides, but did very well for us on the charts and everything like that, you know, because again, you know, music is expression. So, you know, folks, if it's good music, they're going to play it.
Exactly.
So, you know, folks were calling the radio stations requesting songs that weren't even singles from us. But, you know, when I get royalty checks, I'm like, wow, they're playing this one.
Right. You're like, okay, they loving that, right?
So, and there's some stuff on Porch, again, that were never singles, but, you know, I make more with royalties on those songs than I do on the hits.
Right.
You know, so again, you know, you just never know.
Yeah, and I think maybe Here We Go Again should go viral on TikTok, you know. See some of them checks come popping in, you know. I'm just saying. All right, so before we wrap up, I just want to know, what kind of legacy do you strive to leave? You know,
my thing is, you know, again, if you're looking up the name, I just want to know that I did right by you. You know what I mean? The music, you know, spoke to you. You know, what I was in the room, you know, focusing on and setting myself to do, you know, I just need to know that I got it done. Like when folks, you know, listen to it, they're gonna be like, you know what, I met him. He was a great dude. You know what? It's like, you know, he'd take the time out. He'd talk to me. He'd give me advice. He'd this and that. You know, even around here, if I see folks, you know, we're hanging out or whatever. Yeah, sit down. Let's chop it up. I want to talk about music, whatever. So, you know, I don't want to be just like a facade. Like, okay, you know what? He was just an image. He was just this guy. You know, he was untouchable. No, I'm absolutely, you know, reachable. You know, I mean, you can get to me. Like I said,
I know you're here still, but
you know,
even when I saw you through
you know what I mean?
Exactly, I've never known you to be anything but who you are right now. Like from the moment I've known you from Southside when we used to be over there near Mendez Market, you know,
exactly.
You and the twins.
It's always been me, you know.
Yeah.
You know, again, you know, and even when I came in and you all presented me with the award, that was big for me because, you know, to be recognized in your own community, you know, that's huge. You know, you can't, and like I said, when I was accepting the award, it's like, you can't put anything on that. You know, I mean, it's like me going up for Grammys or American Music Awards, ASCAP Awards or whatever. You know, that's one thing. I mean, that's out there. That's the nation. That's the world. But when you are recognized in your own community, in your own hometown, that's the stamp right there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, you know, when you all gave me that, I mean, that was big. I mean, that's in my studio right now. Aww. You know, right on my desk in the studio and everything. And I look at that all the time and it just makes me smile because I'm like, wow, that's big.
Before we go, what are you doing now musically?
So I am working on a project. Like I said earlier, never really wanted to be that front guy or anything like that, you know, but over the years, you know, folks have been asking me.
Yes.
You know, I would stop working on it and I put it off. I'm like, you know, because it's got to feel right. You know, again, my thing is, you know, with Portrait, you know, we went out with a bang. You know, we went out with hit records or whatever. I can't half step coming back in, whether it's a solo project or whatever. Right. You know, you have to, you know, be up to the standard you was, because it's that saying, you're only as good as your last hit kind of thing, you know, whatever. So I am working on some music right now. Press releases is done, you know. Going. So once I finish the songs that I'm writing by myself, then I'll tap into some other celebrity friends of mine, you know, some other buddies that I've communicated with already that want to work on the project. We'll get that, because then I have something to show them, okay, this is what I've done so far, this is what I come. So they'll have a kind of a guideline, you know, say, you know, so that part of it, I can't tell you if it's going to be written individually, collectively, or whatever, you know, because again, you know, we might just get in the room and say, okay, look, let's start from scratch and let's just say, you know, let's come up with it and, you know, and do it. But you'll have something to share.
All right. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much, Irving, for just coming out, sharing your story. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of On Point, where sharing is unlimited.